There was a time when I used to come to Boston quite frequently. Those days, that was in the early 80s. And well, then, those days I used to be quite free to travel to different places. But in ISKCON, you get involved and your responsibilities keep on increasing. And I think last time I came about 10 or 12 years back.
Yes,
Yeah.
2008, man.
2012 years. Yeah.
You gave a talk at MIT.
Yeah. And my first time I came also, I gave a program in MIT.
Oh.
And that was my first program in America. I came in 79 and so I came to Boston. Niranjan Maharaj was there, Agrani Maharaj was there. Adikeshwar Maharaj was the GPC here. He and I came together here. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here once again. So how are you all doing?
Haribol!
Very good. That means spiritually you all are doing wonderfully. Hare Krishna. What if we start with singing a song, bhajan? Can we project that? Okay. Very good. So this verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 31st chapter. This chapter is entitled as the Gopi Geet. And this is the 9th verse. Why did I select this verse? That's what I will explain. This Gopi Geet, actually this chapter describes that Krishna was dancing with the gopis, the rasa dance in Vrindavan. There were 16,000 gopis dancing with 16,000 Krishnas. And in the center, Krishna was dancing alone with Srimati Radharani. Then all of a sudden, Radharani left the rasa dance. And then Krishna also left and went out in search. And then Krishna found Radharani. And then at one point, Krishna disappeared from her also. So then the gopis started to search for Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan. Searching, they came to the bank of Jamuna and they started to express their agony of their hearts. And that is the 13th chapter, the 31st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, which is known as the Gopi Geet. Now, this 9th verse bears a very special significance, not only because the gopis sang it, but because this verse is indicating the glory of Krishna consciousness, the glory of singing Krishna's greatness. Tava kathamritam. Tava means yours, and kathamritam means, amrita means nectar, and amrit and katha. And the words about you, katha or narrations about you, nectarian narrations about you, O Krishna, the gopis are saying, tapta jivanam, the living entities, those who are suffering in this material world, these nectarian words of Krishna extinguishes that suffering condition, the forest fire of suffering condition. As we sing every morning, samsara dava nalalidha loka. like living entities in this material nature are suffering from a very, very stressful, painful situation which has been compared to the forest fire. And Srila Prabhupada pointed out why this forest fire, because nobody goes to light the fire in the forest. It automatically, spontaneously lights up. Similarly, our suffering condition comes to us without inviting, without making any effort. On its own, it just comes. And we are plunged into that suffering condition. But nectarian words of Krishna extinguishes the suffering, the fire of suffering condition. Relieves us from the suffering condition. Tapta Jivanam. And the words about Krishna, the glories of Krishna or Krishna Katha is sung by Kavis. Kavi means the most exalted spiritual personalities, like Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva. These exalted personalities sing the glory of nectarian influence of Krishna Katha. Kavi Bhiri Ritam. Kalmashapaham. Kalmash means the impurities. The impurities are washed away just by hearing this Krishna Katha. And Kalmashapaham, Shravana Mangalam. When we hear them, this Krishna Katha, it brings all auspiciousness. Mangalam. Just by hearing, we receive auspiciousness. Shravana Mangalam. Srimad, it brings all the wealth and opulence of spiritual advancement. Shravana Mangalam, Srimad. Now this is the punchline. Bhubi Grihanti. Those who distribute this Krishna Katha, Krishna consciousness, Bhubi means all over the world. Bhuridha Jana. They are the most magnificent personalities. They are the givers of the greatest benedictions to the people all over the world. So this is the general meaning of this particular verse. Now we go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri. The king of Odisha at that time, very powerful king, King Prataparudra. Like he was so powerful that although practically all of India was taken over by the Muslims, that was the only state that retained its sovereignty. Because the Muslims couldn't defeat him. Rather, he defeated all those Muslims. So, King Prataparudra was a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. And King Prataparudra, when he got to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri and he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, King Prataparudra wanted to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused. He said, a sannyasi's business is not to deal with such mundane personalities like a king. A king is naturally very much involved in materialistic activities. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declined to meet him. King Prataparudra tried in many ways, like many of King Prataparudra's close associates, like Ramananda Roy, he was his governor. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the scholar of his court. Such Sikhi Mahiti, his own guru. So they all were very closely connected to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he appealed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through them that he gives him an audience. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declined. And when they persuaded him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just warned them that, look, if you keep on insisting, then I'm going to leave this place. You all stay with the king, I'm going to leave. So they all became very worried that, oh, no, we don't want you to leave. And this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to see King Prataparudra. Then came the Ratha Yatra time. Lord Chaitanya was dancing in front of Jagannath's chariot. And in the course of this Ratha Yatra, the chariot comes to a place called Balgandi, where the chariot stops and Jagannath receives the offerings from everyone. Anybody can go and make the offering to Lord Jagannath. So when the chariot stopped and at Balgandi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the adjacent garden, and because he was tired out of dancing, so he was lying under a tree. At that time, King Prataparudra, disguised as an ordinary villager, came there and started to massage Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And while he was massaging his lotus feet, he was chanting the verses from the 10th canto, 31st chapter. When it came to this particular verse, Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kobibhir iritam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhubi Grinanti Bhuridajana. So when he chanted that, when he sang the last line, Bhubi Grinanti Bhuridajana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu jumped up, and the personality who he didn't even want to see, he embraced him and kept on saying, Bhurida, Bhurida. Indeed, he is the most munificent. Indeed, he is the most munificent. Now, why did he say that? Indeed, he was actually who he was indicating. Normally, people would think that this is actually indicating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is distributing Krishna consciousness all over the world. But naturally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not accept it for himself. He actually indicated that, yes, indeed, a personality will come who will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And that's why he was so excited that he embraced King Prataparudra and kept on saying, yes, he is the most munificent, he is the most munificent. So who is that personality?
Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. Prior to Srila Prabhupada, who spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? Did anybody do that? Yes, Mahaprabhu spread it all over India. But all over the world, Bhubi Grinanti. Bhubi means all over the world. Grinanti Ji, one who distributes this Krishna consciousness all over the world, he is the most munificent. So in this way we can see Prabhupada's appearance was forecasted 5,000 years ago by the gopis, 500 years ago by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And today we can see how this presentation, how this statement has become a reality. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also said, Prithivite ache jato nagoradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibe mon naam. As many towns and villages are there all over this holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, it may not have spread all over the world, in every town and village, but it has spread quite extensively, fulfilling that prediction. And in reality, what's going to happen in course of time? Yes, it will spread in every town and village. Can the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead go in vain?
No.
Never. So when he said that it will spread all over the world in every town and village, we can rest assured that, with a shadow of doubt, that it is going to happen. So, should we sing this song? Okay. Tau kathamritam tapta jivanam kobibhiritam kalmashanam tapta jivana kabhi bhulna Tabo kathamrita tapta jivana kabhi Shravana Srimad Shravana Mangala Srimad Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Ashtastra. Now you can see the significance of this verse. Is it clear to everyone that this verse is actually indicating Srila Prabhupada? Otherwise, whoever has achieved this accomplishment, spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world, and how did Srila Prabhupada do it? Isn't that a miracle? And because Prabhupada himself used to say, people like to see miracle. But this is the greatest miracle. Like the way he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He came to the United States of America, where nobody knew who Krishna was. Like when Prabhupada was registering ISKCON, he had a lawyer and a few of his disciples to be the witness and the part of this institution, the management board. And Prabhupada told them the name of the institution will be the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The lawyer suggested that you rather call it the International Society for God Consciousness, because nobody knows who Krishna is. Prabhupada said, yes, but I have come here to let the whole world know who Krishna is. I have come here to let everybody know that Krishna is God. People have the concept of, they think about God, they speak about God, but they do not know who God is. God is Krishna. And that's what Prabhupada came to give this world. A proper understanding of who God is. And then before that you can consider, how did Srila Prabhupada come to America? at the age of 70. Is there anyone here who is above 70 or 70 years old?
Almost.
70 or 70?
Almost.
Almost, but still you are not there. At the age of 70, one doesn't want to go anywhere, live in a comfortable situation. Once one devotee was preaching to some people in Delhi, New Delhi. And in course of his preaching, that person he was preaching to, he asked him, do you know what Prabhupada did? So the boy, the devotee, young devotee, quite confidently said, yes, I know what Prabhupada did. He said, no, you don't know. He was an elderly gentleman, and he told him that in order to understand what Prabhupada did, you have to first become 70 years old. And then only you will understand what Prabhupada has achieved. And consider how Srila Prabhupada did it. At the age of 70, he came to a total uncertainty, without a single penny in his pocket. He did not know a single person in America. One acquaintance, a distant acquaintance he had, a person who sponsored his visa, never met him. He was the son of one of his acquaintances from Mathura, Gopal Agarwal. And he wrote to him that he is arriving on such and such date in New York. That person didn't even have the opportunity to write to Srila Prabhupada whether he would be willing to receive him or not. In that uncertainty, Srila Prabhupada came to America. And then we can see what did he do. Within the short span of 10 years' time, spread this movement all over the world. Nowadays, I tell you, we see how difficult it is to even make a single devotee. Isn't it? We literally have to go through our blood, sweat and tears to make a devotee. But Srila Prabhupada made at least 10,000 followers at that time. Not only in America, all over the world. I started a project in Ujjain about 15 years back, and I kind of decided to build a temple within 10 years, or within 1 year's time. Mind you, prior to that, what to speak of building a temple, I didn't even build a shack. So, but I decided to build a temple in 1 year's time. So there was a press conference, and in the press conference, one of the reporters asked me, Swamiji, will you be able to build the temple within 1 year? My response was, my spiritual master built 108 temples in 10 years. It's a big deal of building one temple in 1 year. And fortunately, by Krishna's mercy, I completed the temple in 9 months, 20 days. So, but the point actually is that to build one temple in 1 year's time appears to be such an inconceivable task. Now consider Srila Prabhupada built 108 temples all over the world. And not only that, look at Prabhupada's achievements. Not only he built 108 temples, he translated about 100 volumes of books. He spread this movement all over the world, traveling around the world 14 times, meeting people, inspiring individuals to become devotees. Consider Prabhupada's achievements. He went to Russia. Those days, Russia, one couldn't go, unless they had some serious business. So Prabhupada had an invitation, arranged an invitation from one Indologist in Moscow, from Moscow University, Professor Kotovsky. He went there for 3 days only. And in Russia, those days when a foreigner went there, his every move was watched. Comes to a country like America, like Sumati Morarji, the chairperson of the India Steam Navigation Company, Steamship Company, Scindia Steamship Company. Prabhupada got to know her, and Prabhupada was persuading her to give him a passage to America. So she was persuading Prabhupada that please don't go to America. I can arrange a passage for you, that's not a problem, but I don't want you to go there. Swamiji, who will listen to your words there? Swamiji, you don't know what America is like. You don't get anything to eat. You don't know how cold the winter there is. But Prabhupada just kept on insisting, no, please give me a passage. My Guru Maharaj wanted me to go to the West and spread Krishna consciousness. At this fag end of my life, I would like to give it a chance, give it a try. So in this way, Prabhupada, and then eventually Sumati Morarji agreed. But she knew what the condition of America was like. So she made arrangement. Okay, Swamiji, whenever you want, you can come back. She gave a return passage also, arranged a return passage also. Whenever she thought that Prabhupada will become a failure and after 1 month or so, he'll come back. But did Prabhupada go back to India? No. He went through these hardships and as a result of that, we can see what he has achieved. Nobody could even imagine that such a thing could ever happen. And as devotees of Srila Prabhupada, at least we know that it happened because Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Srila Prabhupada to this world to fulfill his prediction that Krishna consciousness movement will spread all over the world in every town and village. And it is the credit, of course, goes to 2 other personalities prior to Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. These 3 luminaries came in succession to fulfill the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings were completely lost in India. But it is Bhakti Vinod Thakur who actually revived Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. And then, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave it a shape in the form of preaching. And then Srila Prabhupada take that spirit of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and came to America and did whatever he has done. And not only that, in order to continue the mission, Prabhupada made the perfect arrangement. And that is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. A mission, a spiritual mission cannot continue to spread after the disappearance of its founder for very long. We have seen so many big spiritual leaders have come and, well, they created a wave when they were present, but what happened to the institution after they left? Soon after they left, it collapsed. But did it happen to ISKCON? No. About 43 years after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, ISKCON is not only thriving, but it's expanding. When Prabhupada left, there were 108 temples. Do you know how many temples are there now? More than 650 temples all over the world. A clear indication that it's expanding. What to speak of falling apart, it's expanding. And why it's expanding, why ISKCON is still there, intact and thriving. Because of the institution, the way Srila Prabhupada structured it. A spiritual institution needs a spiritual head. And Srila Prabhupada retained his identity as the spiritual head of ISKCON for all time, the founder Acharya. Every day, Srila Prabhupada is worshipped during the Guru Puja by everyone in every temple. And this will continue. As long as ISKCON will be there, this system will continue. And then he created this concept of collective management through the governing body commission. No one person is going to be the head of the institution. It's that one person that is going to be the head of the institution is Srila Prabhupada himself. And then, of course, the institution needs to be managed, and that will be done by a collective concept of management through the governing body. And I tell you, as an inside member of the governing body, like it's because of the governing body concept, the ISKCON has been able to overcome so many crises and calamities after Prabhupada's disappearance. So, and then he gave the books as the basis. Like everybody knows what Krishna consciousness is. And and everything about this institution has been established properly through the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Books are the basis of this institution. So this is how Srila Prabhupada secured the mission. And as I mentioned, without a shadow of doubt, we can rest assured that this movement is continuing to spread, fulfilling the prediction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Does anybody have any question? We have about a few minutes before. Yes?
When we come back.
Okay. That's why I'm afraid to go to a new place. Because, the question is that, yes, we develop relationship and I am compelled to come again. Well, I'll come again. So, Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Yes?
This is a little esoteric in a sense,
Yeah.
but in that verse that you were discussing,
Yeah.
the gopis are praising Krishna
Yeah.
as the Supreme Personality of God.
Right.
But on the other hand, we understand that the gopis don't see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God.
Yeah.
So can you say?
Okay, good.
reconcile
Very
that?
good. Very good point. Because this is due to Maya. Maya means forgetfulness. But this is Yoga Maya. You see, there are two kinds of forgetfulness. One forgetfulness is out of ignorance, and the other forgetfulness is out of intense love. Say the son has become the prime minister or president of the country, but it's not that the mother doesn't know that he is the president of the country, but the mother doesn't treat him like a president. To the mother, his identity as a president is not important. She doesn't treat him like a president. She treats him like when he comes back home, she chastises him for making some mistakes or not doing things properly. So that is the example of, forgetfulness out of love. It's not that the gopis didn't know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but to them it didn't matter because they used to say also, yeah, some say that you are the Supreme Personality of God, so what? Like, whether you're Supreme Personality of Godhead or not, it doesn't matter. What really matters is that we can't stay without loving you. Like one day, Madhumangal, who is a Brahmana, told Krishna, Krishna, you see, you should be respectful to your superiors. Really, what happened? You see, you are a Kshatriya, Samsa, you are a Vaishya, Samsa, you are a Kshatriya. But I am a Brahmana. So you should actually show some respect to me. So Krishna said, look, there are two considerations. One is birth and the other is activity. So it is said that the activity supersedes the consideration of birth. So Madhumanga says, what's the big deal about your activities? He says, look, when I was 7 days old, I killed a terrible demoness, Putana. When I was 7 years old, I lifted Govardhan and held it for 7 days. Kaliya, whose poison was so terrible that whole Jamuna became poisoned. And I subdued him. So Madhumanga said, big deal. You see, Krishna, you're so conceited, always blowing your own trumpet. 7 days, you kill Putana. Everybody knows that the demigods protect the children and elderly people. The demigods protected you and you wanted to take the credit. And you lifted Govardhan. Everybody gave the support and that's why the Govardhan was lifted. And everyone held it. That's why Govardhan was held for 7 days. And as far as Kaliya is concerned, everybody knew what happened. You are in the coil of Kaliya, you are dead. And seeing you in that condition, everybody, some of them, all the residents of Vrindavan, some of them fainted, some of them were about to jump into the river, try to rescue you. And seeing that condition, I took pity upon them. And I started to chant the Sarpa Nidhan mantra, the mantra that would kill the serpent. And it is due to my chanting of the Sarpa Nidhan mantra, Kaliya released you. And then you jumped up on his head and started to dance as if you have subdued him. Then Krishna said, oh, I didn't know about that. Anyway, please accept my humble obeisance. So this is the wonderful loving exchange that Krishna used to have with his most intimate associates of Vrindavan. So it's a forgetfulness, It's not that they didn't know that Krishna is God, but to them it didn't matter that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now I have to go. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thanks.
Gaur Premanande. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo.
His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki Jai!